the two major modalities for getting better as a basketball player. I'm Tony. Welcome back to Street Ball Strategies.
2 lanes to the hoop, both roads intertwined. Sweat on the court and the game's in the mind. Book smart or blood smart, it's all by design. Success ain't a draft, it's the hours you grind.
Today we're talking about the two major general ways to get better as a basketball player. Now, disclaimer right up front, this video to basketball players who are already a couple years into the game and have some experience, this is probably going to be a video where you're kind of like, it's obvious, right? You're going to be like, no duh, Tony, of course that's good advice, and of course that's what you should do. But the reason I'm making this video is for two reasons. One is because if you're a player, not even a player yet, someone who's considering playing basketball for the first time, and you're kind of wondering what you'd be getting yourself into when it comes to like dedicating your life to basketball, this is going to give you a pretty good idea of what to expect. And secondly, if you are a basketball player who's a few years in and you kind of find yourself stalling out, right? It's like you're not making real progress anymore, or it's super like agonizingly slow, and you find yourself having the thought of like, maybe I should just give up. I don't really want to try anymore. If you watch this video, hopefully it inspires you to remember like why you got started in the first place and helps you to get to the next level. That being said, let's talk about the two major modalities of how to get better as a basketball player. The first major general modality of getting better as a basketball player is to study the game. The more you understand how and why the game is played, how and why players do the things they do, and how and why players are successful and make mistakes, the better you understand all of that, the better player you're going to be able to be. So we're pretty much talking about like general strategy, general kind of coaching, general kind of X's and O's. The better you understand all of that, and the deeper you can go, like the more complicated and intricate you can go, the better. But just to get started with, just to have a sort of general understanding of how and why, because, a lot of players, they concern themselves with how to do something or how something is happening, but they rarely ever ask themselves and go into the why of what is happening. So how and why is X, Y, and Z happening? The better you understand that, the better player you're going to be able to be. Now, I myself am lucky because I was just born with a brain and a mind that thinks like a coach. I was born with like a coaching kind of brain. But I realize many of you were not, and many of you are not into strategy. You're not into the X's and O's. That's okay. You still need to study the game. You still need to understand how and why stuff is happening, but you don't have to approach it from that traditional, stereotypical kind of coaching perspective. One of the great things about today is you have so much information at the tips of your fingers. Back in the 90s when I was getting started, all I had was stuff to watch on TV and stuff to read in like articles and books. I did all of that because I was a basketball nerd. I watched everything I possibly could. I read everything I possibly could, and it helped me to understand the game better. But nowadays you guys have so much more technology at your fingertips. You have YouTube. You can find and study all this kind of different kind of stuff. You have so much more options that you can use to study the game. So even if you're the kind of player who's like, I don't really care about coaching, I don't really care about strategy and X's and O's, that's okay. You don't have to just, study, plays and understanding plays and how that stuff works. There's so many more options you have. You need to think outside the box. For example, like I said, I watched and read everything. So like on TV, I would watch, NBA inside stuff Saturday mornings. I would watch interviews. I would watch any kind of, specials or documentaries about basketball. And when it came to reading, it would be like whatever basketball articles and whatever magazines that talked about players or coaching or training. I read biographies, autobiographies about coaches, players, but even journalists like that covered the game. So you have all those options. And then you have the more traditional options like watching game tape, like watching the NBA. But you don't have to just watch the NBA. You can watch high school. You can watch college. You can study all of those players, figure out what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, how and why are they doing that. Also, you can make game tape and study game tape of yourself in your own game. That's very, very beneficial. Seeing your own mistakes, seeing what you do right, what you do wrong, how and why that happens, understanding that. It's so much easier for you guys to record yourselves nowadays. Back then I had to use a VHS, camcorder that weighed 1,000,000 pounds and took 90 batteries. Later on in my career, when I started playing the 2K series, just by playing 2K, you can learn the game strategy, X's and O's from that as well. Like, you control the entire team. You can be the coach. You can create plays, you can draw up plays, you can control your roster and who runs what play. That can be very beneficial as well as terms of understanding how and why the game is played the way it is. But the more studying you do, the more understanding you have, the better you're going to be able to become the basketball player. It's just that simple. The second major general modality for getting better at basketball is the physical side of basketball, the training, the practice. Now, I personally distinguish between those two because to me, training means like non-basketball centric, workouts and conditioning that you do to get your body in general better to play basketball. Whereas practice is more basketball centric. You're on the court, you're running drills, you're running workouts specifically to get better at basketball skills and abilities. And this is where I really want to drive home the idea of having fun and enjoying yourself, because we all know you have to work out, you have to train, you have to practice to get better as a basketball player. You have to run the drills, you have to run the workouts. We all know that. The reason fun and enjoyment is so important is because when you're a beginner, you don't have to focus on fun and enjoyment because since you're a beginner, you're a blank slate. You're just getting started. Every week, every month, as long as you're being consistent, you are making real progress every week or month or so. Now, you as the beginner, you're never going to feel like you're making that much progress because it never comes as fast or as effectively as you would like it to. But when you get a few years into the game, you will soon realize like, oh yeah, back when I was a beginner, I was making a lot of progress relatively at that time compared to when you become an intermediate player. One of the major ways you know you've become an intermediate player is that progress slows down precipitously. The reason for that is because now you're not a beginner anymore because you've already made the quote-unquote easy leaps and bounds in terms of progress from being a beginner. You've already made all of the easy improvements, all of the easy progress. You did that as a beginner. At some point, you'll get to a point where you're still putting in as much work as you always have. Like, you're still practicing, training, studying as hard, as often, as consistently as you ever have, but the progress you're making is slowing down. That's one of the major ways to know that you're now becoming an intermediate player. An intermediate player, that's the players that usually give up and become complacent because now, in order to get to advanced, that progress is so slow and it is so small and incremental that most players just give up and just settle for always and forever just being an intermediate player because it takes so long, the progress is so slow, and it seems so tedious, repetitive, boring to keep grinding that most players give up and just settle for being intermediate for. That's why I'm emphasizing fun and enjoyment so much. This is where you need to focus on that. Figure out how to grind, how to keep grinding, keep being consistent, keep working hard and smart without feeling bored and complacent and like tedium and feeling like what's the point. You need to focus now on how to stay motivated, how to be inspired so that when you come out here, even though you're grinding, you're also still enjoying yourself. It's that enjoyment that will allow you to continue to be consistent and continue to keep pushing when everybody else just gives up and becomes complacent. The more you enjoy yourself, the more consistent you'll be. The more consistent you are, the faster you will grind to get to that advanced level. It's the training and the practicing, doing it over and over again and having the diminished returns in terms of progress that allows players to give up. If you can stay inspired and have fun through all of that, continue to allowing yourself to grind, the better, faster you're going to be able to reach that advanced stage. Those are the two major general modalities of how to get better as a basketball player. Nothing huge, nothing revelatory, but a person thinking about giving basketball a try and wanting to know what to expect in a life of basketball, or you're a basketball player who's kind of stalled out in the middle of your career and you're looking for inspiration and a reminder of how and why you're trying to go where you want to be. Hopefully this video helps you get to where you want to be as a basketball player. If it did and you found it helpful in that way, then please subscribe to the channel. Also, let us know down in the comments, what are things, ways, tips that you have in terms of either studying or training and practice that you've used to help yourself grow as a basketball player. But before you comment, make sure you hit that thanks button down below, because not only does hitting that thanks button highlight any comment you make, but it also directly supports the channel. So for anyone that does hit that thanks button, know I genuinely appreciate it. As always, like, share, comment like I said. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified whenever any video goes live on this channel. And until then, see you guys next week.
Fadeaway's birth cause you're glued to the gym. Vision plays born cause your focus ain't dim. Page flips the clips till the knowledge feels kin. 2 pounds